evening. My name is Joy Munoz, and my informative speech is on the El Camino de Santiago, the pilgrim's route through Spain. The Way of St. James is a pilgrimage that is rooted in history, spirituality, and self-discovery. When I started researching this topic, my biggest question was why would almost 200,000 people from all walks of life trek nearly 500 miles across northern Spain's rugged terrain? The tomb of St. James still provides spiritual benefits to those who embark on the journey to the end of the world, Finisterre. In the 9th century, a hermit named Peleo, some versions of the story call him Pelagius, saw a series of stars in the sky and heard the singing of angels that led him to an ancient tomb. He reported his find to the bishop, who excavated the site and found a sepulchre and papers declaring that this was the body of James. He was also called Santiago in Spanish. Rome was informed, and they declared an official pilgrimage to the site. They built a monastery there and a small village. As word spread that the body of St. James had been found, people started pilgriming to the site. Miracles started happening, and the Spanish church encouraged this as they were in the midst of fighting the Moors in the peninsula, in need of funding and spiritual motivation to reclaim Iberia for Christianity. A massive infrastructure then developed to help take advantage of the pilgrims and the resources that they were bringing to the area. Bridges were built to connect town, hospices were chartered by religious orders, and they were set up to house and feed pilgrims while on their journey. Inadvertently, the Camino generated great wealth for Spain and the church, eventually building a cathedral in the city, Santiago de Compostela. Thus began the 1,000-year-old pilgrim trail, El Camino de Santiago. The belief that the body of St. James was entombed in Spain led to the decree that a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela would be considered a substitute for a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. One of the books that I read about this subject was called A Modern-Day Walk Down the Pilgrim's Route into Spain. The author of that book, his name was Jack Hitt. He did a lot of research into this topic, and he discovered that there was a certain way that pilgrims dressed in order to be recognized as pilgrims on the road. I have an illustration of this here, and part of their attire was a big broad-brimmed hat to protect them from the sun, a cape to keep them warm, heavy boots on their feet to keep them safe, and a walking stick. The clothes that they wore were a kind of international law. Special laws were actually created for pilgrims at the time so that they were not subject to the common laws, as most of the pilgrims in the area were not actually from the area, so they were from different parts of the country. Although there were many types of people walking the Camino from various countries, there is an undercurrent of commonality. One of the things that is a marker is the scallop shell. And this is something that everybody wears when they're on the pilgrimage, the El Camino de Santiago. So this is actually a sign from James, as he was a fisherman, and it's also something that's commonly found on the coast of Spain. It was also translated into trail markers along the way, and these trail markers point pilgrims down the road so that they actually know where they're going next. There was a few books that were created at the time. There's one that's called the Codex Calixtenus, which is actually the first tour guide that was ever created. There's a few other books that were written at the time. The Book of Miracles provided encouragement to the pilgrims, and a whole community was formed around this pilgrimage. In conclusion, I find it interesting how a 500-mile physically challenging trek through the Spanish countryside could have such historical importance and spiritual implications for modern people that are used to having everything that they need within their immediate grasp. To think that leaving alarm clocks, cars, cell phones, and all modern conveniences behind to put oneself on a pilgrim route that is over 1,000 years old to reignite a passion for life is something that needs to be explored. Thank you.